process began early this morning when the Canadian Hope was put in place. Every second of race day is planned. As fans pour in, the tension builds. The Molson Indy Vancouver is the biggest event in British Columbia and one of the biggest in Canada. They all know the season changes here. For each, the final push starts now, today, and in the next 8 weeks, careers and championships will be determined. And the first sign of change is the first 2 positions in the starting field. These Canadian fans sitting here know this could be a very big day for Canada.
And what a wild track for a driver's future potentially to be determined. Vancouver has a history of unpredictable results. One thing's for sure, though, if Canadians end up on the podium, these fans will blow the lid off this place. Who do you think's going to win, guys? There you have it.
ESPN Speed World is ready for the Cars FedEx Championship Series. We're at the Concord Pacific Place in Vancouver, British Columbia for the Molson Indy Vancouver. The field has already started and rolling on the very first parade lap, the first of 3, as they're ready to continue the fight for the championship. Here's the way they qualified, with teammates Alex Tagliani and Patrick Carpentier, both Ford-powered, both on the front row. Gilles de Ferran, one of the points contenders, starts in row 2. In fact, the points contenders end up in 5th, 4th, and 3rd position. Any one of those guys could walk away as the championship leader at the end of the race today.
Mid-pack action, look for Michael Andretti. He's never started farther back than 10th until today. And at the very back, Dario Franchitti. He owns the track record. He's won here before. He's starting 19th.
And speaking of records, the race record held by Michael Andretti from 11 years ago. This 1.781-mile temporary road course, 100 laps, 178 miles. Let's go to Gary Terrell.
Paul, a year ago, for the first time in the history of this event, a Canadian driver, Paul Tracy, was the winner. This year it gets better for these great Canadian fans because it's an all-Canadian front row. The Players Forsyth team is on top. Tagliani on the pole, Carpentier, his teammate next to him. And if anybody's going to get by this resurgent team that's been on the podium in 4 of the last 5 events, they've got to beat the guys in blue. Big challenge for the field. Let's go to Jan Deacons.
And Gary, the last stop for CART in Canada, the front row was dominated by Team Penske. Now that race in Toronto didn't work out so well for the team. Neither of those 2 cars finished. Now today, they start 3rd and 5th, which may not be too bad considering I think today's race may come down to pit strategy. If you watch to see what the leaders do first, it helps in making that critical decision as to when to hit pit road. Paul?
And speaking of the defending champion, Paul Tracy, got a little trouble during the morning warm-up, hooked the barrier, and it caused some problems.
At the end of the back straightaway, braking from 190 miles an hour down to 80, hooked the left front wheel into the tire barrier. Watch the wheel come back towards his head into the cockpit. Car snaps around. He had sprained fingers on his left hand, shifting hand, the critical in the right hand, but still a lot of discomfort. This is a bumpy track and very, very busy.
Being as it is on city streets, camber, sloping down from the center of the track in many places, but then in others they have to pass over it. You can see the manholes and street covers are all sealed, but even that creates its own challenge for the shock absorbers and the springs on these cars.
After this morning's warm-up, I look for the little things, the driver's demeanor when he gets out of the car. Tagliani, Carpentier, well, this is their best road street course starting ever. Man, and those guys look confident, so does Gilles de Ferran. He got out of the car, gave me sort of one of those knowing winks, a little smile. He's very happy with this car. And then, of course, there's the Patrick cars. They've been quick all weekend, had a little problem in qualifying. Watch them as well.
Now, one of the problems here is that the field really can't form up until they actually come onto the pit straight. It's pretty much single file until then. And so right after they pass through this next corner, we should see them come into rows of 2. They're hoping for getting 2 or 3 rows off. Very, very pretty as they come off the corner. Now here's the green flag. And Team Players goes into the corner. Boy, maneuvering everywhere. And Junqueira gets it sideways. He's the only one involved, but he's over by the left-hand side of the course. No, he's not the only one. Castroneves is in trouble too.
Our points leader off as well. You can see flat spotted that left front tire backing up from the barrier there. You can see it clearly on the top.
Local yellow flags covering both situations.
There was contact between one of the team green cars and Junqueira. You see DeFerrin looking down the inside of Carpentier there. Carpentier told me before the start of this race, all he was looking for was to slot in behind his teammate. Said there are a lot of fast guys behind me that'll be pushing very hard. Wood won't fight this out until the last pit stop, but there's your points leader.
Tagliani, Carpentier, and then DeFerrin. They've gone to a full course caution. Pace car will come out. Field will line up again. Here is the situation down in turn 1.
You can see there the contact.
Junqueira just came sweeping way across, and it looks like he may have tapped Tracy in doing so.
Yep. And now we'll see what happened to Cash Nevis. Watch the car there on the right. Junqueira goes by the left. Green flag. Junqueira moves over to the right. Cash Nevis down the inside. Contact with Kenny Breck there. As Tracy and Junqueira get together, Junqueira stalls the engine. He's stopped, as well as Castor Nevis.
You're looking at it a different way. There is Castor Nevis getting pushed aside by Kenny Breck, and he stopped over, barely touching the barrier, kept the power going, but nevertheless, with the combination of incidents, full course caution.
Watch right
out.
there. The two championship contenders going down the high side. Tracy getting together there. You can see him there pushing off the outside, still fighting for position, wheel to wheel, heading down into turn number 2.
Two cars that have made it into the pits and out, Shinji Nakano and Alex Zanardi. Take the opportunity of the early full course caution. Bruno Junqueira comes in. They'll check for damage. Doesn't look like there is any, so best guess is they'll just top this one up with fuel, though they are going to change the right front. We're going to show you the current standings now, still under the full course caution. And what is going to be a real shocker to both teams is down at the bottom. Bruno Junqueira and Elio Castroneves are both in the back of the field a lap down. Bruno Junqueira, who just 2 weeks ago scored his very first victory in the series. And now he's at the bottom of the field, and this is why he's there.
The problem here is it takes 4, 5, even 6 laps to get tire temperature and tire pressure. Cars are very, very difficult to drive, and guys know that passing is difficult as well, so they're really doing everything they can to get a position here.
Jan Beekes.
With Tim Cindric. Just brought your driver in and checked the car over. First of all, is the car damaged for Castor Nevis?
No, it's unfortunate we couldn't get going again and had to lose a lap there. That put us out of it for now, but we'll try and work our way back into this.
Just had a heated discussion with CART officials about car 8. You've seen the replay. What do you think happened there with Kenny Breck?
Well, all the reports from Elio was that things got a bit out of control there. We got to go racing.
The green flag is out. Tagliani leads them down in. Here comes the rest of the field, fairly spread out. Though for the most part, they don't really want to be that way. They'd like to have been able to crowd up a little bit better. Gary Gerald.
Quick update on Kenny Breck as midfield goes by us into turn number 1. Bobby Rahal, Scott Remke, Dan Holliday, the whole team took him over the wall on those caution laps, and they determined that there's a tire mark, but they think no apparent damage. There had been concern by Breck regarding the side pod and the wing, but the car appears to be okay.
Keep an eye on him as well. Michael Andretti, in the meantime, is making whatever moves he can as he comes up to challenge Adrian Fernandez. Just behind there is Paul Tracy. And then along comes Christian Fittipaldi and his teammate Cristiano D'Amata.
These cars are the most difficult to drive, full tanks, cold tires. It is difficult to pass here, so on these starts and restarts, this is when the guys are going to take the most chances, really try to hang it out, obviously without any race rubber being put down this afternoon. There are no marbles yet offside or offline, so the guys will work every angle they can to try to get by.
There's DeFerrin currently running third with Roberto Moreno right behind him. Now, at the beginning, we talked about careers and where some of these drivers are going for next year, as we are now full swing into the game of musical chairs that they play and switching teams and owners throughout the year. Roberto Moreno is right now listed as one of those who has not yet signed for next year, so it's very important to him to turn in a good performance today. But that's true of about 7, 8 guys in the field.
Absolutely. Look at the top 6. Tagliani, Carpentier, they'll be back next year, as well as DeFerrin. Moreno, you said his future's up in the air. It is. Breck, we know, is going to Ganassi. Pappas, well, he's another guy with a big question mark as far as what his future might hold.
The real key during this race is going to be maintaining the tires. And that kind of performance isn't going to help. I wonder how that got there.
It looks like Tori Takagi just he either brushed the wall or got wide, then stood on the throttle, coming back off it, left two nice top fueler marks coming off there. But you've got to conserve the tires. The tires will drop off a little bit every lap here, but they're a little softer compound than last year, a little less durable. You get 12, 13, 14 laps, and all of a sudden a big drop will happen, a big step down. He just gets pushed wide by Dario there coming off the corner. Dario pushes his way through.
Oh, and then he stands on it to line him back up. So we'll keep the 5 car on the watch list as well to make sure he suffered no damage, though it didn't appear that he did in that conflict with Franchitti.
So they're already starting to lean back, save a little bit of fuel here, figure out how that strategy will play out. Should be a 2-stop race if it stays green.
Trying to save tires, save fuel on every stint.
But still drive as hard as you possibly can. That's the trick. Some are better at it than others. And even within teammates, Paul, talking to Tag and Carpentier, Tag said with laps his car goes to understeer. The car won't turn in, won't transition quite as quickly as it will on newer tires. This driver, Carpentier, says that his car goes loose. The back end starts to swap ends after 12, 13, 14 laps. So even within teams, the way the tires affect the chassis, very, very different depending on those chassis setups and the driving style.
Watching the 7 car of Max Pappas, the teammate to Kenny Breck, who until the race at Road America was the series points leader, now given over to Helio Castroneves, so he's struggling to come back through the field right now after his misfortune on the first lap.
Ready behind you. No pressure right now.
It's Mark Johnson speaking to Max Pappas. Mark Johnson, longtime team manager over at Cal Wells PPI Racing, now overseeing the direction of Max Pappas and other operations at Team Rahal. Right now, the current rumor is that Jimmy Vasser has signed with Bobby Rahal for next year. That's not confirmed. It's certainly a strong, strong rumor. We've seen lots of drivers, team owners going in between the various motorhomes all weekend long.
Parker, we can add that just before this field was flagged off today, we asked one of the key players in that whole Vasser scenario about Jimmy's future, and he, with a smile and a wink, he said, "Don't name any names, but why don't you go talk to Mr. Rahal?"
See, I was told to go talk to Mr. Patrick, so I think the deal's been done. They're just waiting for the time to announce what the results of those negotiations are.
As you say, it's been a lot of fun. You almost wanted to sell a special ticket to the hospitality in the team coach area here, because watching people run in and out of different locations, in and out of the motorhomes, making their deals, lawyers over scribbling on contracts, it was quite a thing to watch. Tagliani, Carpentier, that's the way they qualified. The first and second position, DeFerrin is up in third, followed by Moreno. Here's that incident on the first lap. Started when Junqueira got in trouble, and it also put Helio Castroneves off toward the weeds. Just before the start of this event. Coming up next on ESPN2 is day 3 of the NHRA's Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. Whit Bazemore is making headlines with a national speed record of 325 miles an hour in funny car. Don't forget, tomorrow ESPN2 and ESPN will have 5 hours of coverage of the final elimination. Well, right now the focus is on the CART FedEx Championship Series. Nothing has changed at the top of the order since we left you. It's still Tagliani, Carpentier, Gil DeFerrin, and Roberto Moreno. Trying to work his way back is Helio Castroneves, but with the problem of having to come from a 1-lap deficit now, and that's affected, as we watch Moreno working on DeFerrin, that's affected, obviously, his position in the championship.
Very much so. He's now turning some of the quickest race laps in traffic. He's using the overtake button. Nothing faster or meaner than a mad Brazilian, and he is furious with what happened in those opening laps. So now he is trying to charge back through the field, but trying to get that lap back, that'll take a bit of Penske strategic magic.
The best news, of course, is that both he and Kenny Breck, and for that matter Bruno Junqueira, who are all in one way or another involved in that, they have no report of any severe damage to any of those cars. They should be able to continue on. You might think that Helio Castroneves has his work cut out for him. He certainly does, but least we forget we have seen some fairly spectacular runs. Michael Andretti and Dario Franchitti among them that this very year have come from all the way in the back to win a race.
Just when the series is the most competitive it has ever been, we've had 19 different drivers on the podium so far this year. That compares to only 9 drivers throughout the entire series in 1991. Guys are still able, through great strategy and fantastic drives, to come back up through the field. We've seen passing in places we didn't think people could pass in the past, and now they're doing it with regularity.
Paul Tracy, currently 9th. Michael Andretti, his technical teammate. That's such an unusual term. But the car comes out of the same stable, the Team Green stable. They say once they're at the track and all the information exists, that then they race their own.
You can see now what's become sort of the traditional livery of Paul Tracy's car, the black mark on the nose, although the team didn't paint it preemptively this weekend. That happened, of course, at that opening contact with Bruno Junqueira.
Michael Andretti working hard on Fernandez now. Pappas is just ahead of Fernandez. Remember, Tracy, too, was involved in that little confrontation. He started in 8th but fell to 9th at the same time. Michael Andretti, the blue and white car we've been watching with the red rollover bar, started 11th and is now up to 8th. Scott Dixon this weekend carries the livery colors of his teammate Mauricio Guzman. Both cars carrying the red and white Nextel livery.
The way to differentiate between the two cars, of course, the driver's helmets. Also, on Scott's car, he's got white rear wing end plates, as well as a bit of bright orange, yellow up on the nose. What else did you find? The roll hoop as well, I think, is
got a little yellow stripe on the front of the onboard camera, and a yellow triangle down on the nose. Helmets are really the best way to look here. Jan Beekes.
We've been talking about Paul Tracy, Paul, and we've talked about that black mark on the nose and joking about when they painted it in Mid-Ohio. Remember, this is his last race on probation for an incident in Toronto where he did punt someone from behind. But my personal opinion from what I saw in the replays, where he had the contact with Junqueira, I don't think, Parker, what do you think? Do you have any choice there? It looked to me like he had to go for the binders because Junqueira just all of a sudden changed lanes.
I think you're absolutely right. That was one of those racing things where Paul just happened to be in the wrong place. He was just holding his line. Junqueira came over in front of him. He had no option. He just stood on the brakes and had no choice.
Constant argument, too, Parker, is how much does the fact you're on probation make a difference to the way you're going to drive the race car on a given weekend? Does it kind of slow you down?
Well, in years past, we've seen it's actually been a good luck charm for a lot of drivers. Watch Junqueira here now move over in front of Tracy here as he's holding his line. Tracy was just maintaining his position on the racetrack. Junqueira decided to switch positions. Paul obviously hard on the brakes, offline, trying to maintain directional control. Really, it was one of those things Paul had no option. We saw that yesterday at the beginning of the Barber Dodge race as well, with a couple of drivers moving from side to side and collecting other drivers. So it's something you really don't want to do in close, tight quarters, especially with these cars with such limited rearward visibility. Paul Tracy, an innocent victim in that one.
Yeah, Junqueira just kind of backed over Tracy's nose with both the fronts and the rears. We're watching Alex Tagliani now with 17 laps of the 100 complete. Tagliani, the pole sitter, has led right from the green flag, followed by his teammate. There he comes, Patrick Carpentier. And then this nice little battle as Roberto Moreno continues to work on Gilles de Ferran. So there are your top 5, Ford, Honda, Toyota, Ford at Vancouver and the Molson Indy Vancouver. We'll be back. Jim McGee, the team manager on the right. Those guys know how to gamble. They know how to play that game. And when they're running against you, they'll pull out every stop they can.
And Jan's absolutely right, because we had seen Moreno right up on the gearbox of de Ferran. In fact, it was at the point where I thought Moreno had a much better car than de Ferran, but obviously couldn't figure out a way to get past. So he's backed off a little bit, using de Ferran to pace. And the trick here is you go leaner and leaner, but you keep pushing yourself to try to remain in contact with the car in front of you. That gives you that extra motivation. You're getting great mileage. The guy in front of you is being pushed, getting a little worse mileage, and then you just turn the best laps you can on that in lap and laps leading up to it and try to have your team pass that guy in front of you in the pits.
So there goes the battle for third place. Here comes Kenny Brack. Next battle is back here with Pappas, Fernandez, Andretti. Moreno, for a couple of laps, was really throwing it sideways in his pursuit of DeFerrin. And I think he's probably, as suggested, gone into fuel conservation mode. In the meantime, Fernandez is working Pappas hard. Right behind him, Michael is coming down.
You can see Pappas checking the mirrors for Fernandez on the way down. 190 miles an hour here. This is the main passing area. Pappas gets defensive on the inside. Fernandez really has to step on the binders, and now look what's happened. He's fallen under the attack of Michael Andretti, having lost that momentum, trying to not hit Max Pappas.
Michael Andretti was actually about 75 yards back as they came into the corner. He's closed in right on the gearbox of Adrian Fernandez now.
And as a driver, your entire focus shifts from being very aggressive, very offensive, right up until the point where you saw that Adrian had to make those reactionary moves to avoid hitting Max, and all of a sudden he's got his mirrors filled with Michael Andretti, and then all of a sudden your whole approach changes. You become very defensive. You forget about the guy in front of you. Your whole focus changes to trying to keep that guy behind until you can reestablish your rhythm, try to get back up to speed, and now Adrian Fernandez has laser lock once again on Max Pappas, and he'll aggressively try to make another move here in the next few laps.
In the meantime, here is Elio Castroneves as he tries to work his way forward, but his problem is he is still a lap behind the entire field. He's moving positions as quickly as he can, but again, the street circuit, it's extraordinarily difficult to get around, especially when the cars are as evenly matched as they are in this series right now.
The radio conversations we've heard between Castroneves and Tim Cedric, use the button, do whatever you have to, try to come up through the field. But it looks like he's found sort of that high water mark where now he just can't manage to get by some of the slower cars.
Back at the front, it's still Alex Tagliani, now by 6 seconds over second place. Second place is his teammate, Patrick Carpentier, the winner of this year's Michigan 500. Tagliani still searches for his first win, though he started this race from his second pole. Look at the interval back to Carpentier.
It's now 6 seconds.
Wow, and here is Moreno. Suddenly Moreno comes around the corner ahead of DeFerrin. So Moreno has managed to find a way around, and Elio Castroneves slowing over on the start straightaway.
Did you flick the switch?
Castroneves stops. DeFerrin's missing.
Yellow flag flies in this area only. That's not a full course yellow.
This track is brutal on engines and gearboxes. It's very rough in some places, 24 shifts a lap.
Whatever it is, Castroneves is trying to work with it.
Electrical, Rick. Tell him it's electrical. He just needs to push. Shut up.
Tim Cendrick talking with the driver, Roger Penske keeping track of Gil DeFerrin. So as Gil DeFerrin was passed by Roberto Moreno, almost immediately Elio Castroneves found himself in trouble. They're trying to tell the officials that it's an electrical problem. He needs a push. Full course caution now, and the pits are open. Lap 25.
And they're within the pit window to still make it in 2 stops. Everyone will be coming in.
So while Elio Castroneves sits alone on the pit straight, almost all of the teams have already put equipment over the wall. And here comes the leader of the race, Alex Tagliani. Long run down to his pits. They're almost at the other end. So the leader is in, and his teammate should be coming as well. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Watching along with the crew now, the blue and white players' car comes into the pits. He's in pit number 2. Kenny Brack will be in front of him. That's the only man. Right behind him, Carpentier comes in. Service appears to be routine. Fueling is nearly complete. Now here comes Brack. Slight hesitation in a 12.5 second stop. Carpentier rolls. He's looking good. And we wait to see who's next in line. It's going to be very close between DeFerrin and Moreno. Wheel to wheel into the corner. Jan?
And I can tell you that Moreno came down here. His service was 12.6 seconds. Now they work on Jimmy Vasser. A much quicker stop for Jimmy Vasser, but of course he has a lot more ground to make up.
And you saw as they came out side by side, DeFerrin was able to hold off Moreno. That's the big change during the pit stops. Tagliani and Carpentier came out in the same order they went in. And you see that Kenny Breck is back out, so now whatever may have been his problem, they will be able to identify, hopefully. The problem still unidentified is that of Helio Castroneves. And Brian Herta now right behind the pace car among the group that did not stop at the 25th lap when the full course caution came out for Helio Castroneves. Take it back and show you that last stop. Here's Rico Null, crew chief there for Kenny Breck as they made the stop. Still under the full course caution, though we expect very shortly them to go green again. Here is the pit summary with Dixon, Gidley, and Wilson not stopping. Everyone else lap 25. They headed in for the pits, and one major exchange of position as Gil DeFerrin was able to get in front of Roberto Moreno as they came out of the pits. Ready for the green flag again. Already it flies. Tagliani is the race leader. Scott Dixon sitting in second place, still looking for his first stop. Kenny Breck looks to the inside. Tries a move on Moreno.
And the three cars that didn't stop, Dixon, Gidley, and Wilson, will be in within 8 to 10 laps. So it's a big gamble, hoping for another yellow for a small improvement in track position.
It always seems like that's a really good gamble, though, on a temporary street circuit.
Well, if you're in the back, you've really got nothing to lose at that point, so you might as well give it a shot. And if you have teammates that you can split, that makes it all the much better.
Moreno and DeFerrin are back at it again. But now they've got Gidley just ahead of them. That's a battle for fourth place. Gidley, DeFerrin, Moreno. Kenny Breck's in it now. Oh, Paul Tracy. Look at the right rear. And this may involve contact with another car. Observers are saying he possibly got involved with Cristiano D'Amata.
You see Paul here, out to the right side of your screen. You see that piece
without
right
question.
there. Made contact with the front of D'Amata's car, cut his right rear tire, got down to the next corner, down into turn 7.
The back of you. Is your engine stopped? I'm dead.
And there's Paul Tracy sitting on the circuit. You can see the right rear is nearly flat. And that was what he got in contact with Cristiano D'Amata with. Now we'll try to pick up. There goes D'Amata. We'll try and follow him for you. Our support here comes from Molstar, who gives us the television coverage. And if we can talk them into taking a quick look at Cristiano D'Amata's car, we'll hopefully be able to tell you whether or not there is an issue with his car. It does not appear to be one. And Tracy, of course, is still sitting dead in the water at the edge of the circuit.
Although he's obviously lost some sort of splitter or side skirt on the left front wing, which is going to affect his initial turn-in, transitional response. Corner entry should create some more understeer, which is a thing you don't want here at Vancouver.
As yet, it doesn't look like they're thinking about a full course caution.
Oh,
as Junqueira and Wilson go side by side. Remember, Junqueira still trying to work his way back on to the leader lap, as is Helio Castroneves. Now, what do you see? Do you see anything on D'Amata's car at all, Parker?
About 150 plus miles an hour here. It's a little tough to tell, but we're looking for an end plate or a side skirt on the left front of that car.
Well, while we're looking, let's go down to the pits and Jan Vikas.
Well, that mystery problem for Castroneves, I checked with Tim Cunningham of Honda, and he said they do not think he had an electrical problem because he recycled the ignition. It still wouldn't fire up. Then they pushed it, and it did fire up. And they feel that maybe with the contact he had with Kenny Breck, somehow that's loosened the battery. That's the only thing they can think of as to why mysteriously Castroneves came to a halt.
Oh, that would be weird. That would be really weird. Those are all, aircraft grade Loctite connections. DeFerrin currently fourth place. He's been in a running contest with Roberto Moreno throughout the day. They pitted together, and he was able to get around Moreno as he came out. Moreno got around him on the track. So right now it's DeFerrin in fourth, And 5th is Roberto Moreno. And speaking of Roberto Moreno, an interesting situation developed during his pit stop. They were doing the routine refueling. And then now watch this, because he starts to leave before they're done.
Car drops. Fuel probe still in. Very dangerous situation. Fortunately, he didn't dump the clutch all the way. Otherwise, he would have pulled the fuel rig over potentially.
Yeah, no, he caught it just in time.
Absolutely.
So there is Scott Dixon, currently second. The rookie who scored his first win this season at Nazareth, and who is doing so very well. He's finished in the points in the last 5 races. Seems to be unflappable. Easy-going young man. Quiet. Almost shy New Zealander. Quality that many of the young ones tend to share until they get in the cockpit and then get out of the way.
A lot of these guys are very laid back, very relaxed until they pull the helmet on. And you don't want to get in their way. I know how that is. This is the end of the back straightaway, 190 miles an hour from top gear down to second. Some drivers using third, 70-mile-an-hour right-hander short shoot up to 135 miles an hour. Back on the brakes, down a gear, long sweeping right-hand combination for turns 7 and 8. Very unusual to have a steady state corner on a street course. Puts you back on the backside of the support pits. You do a quick flick back to a chicane behind the fountain complex. Come back around to start finish. It's a very different sort of street course with long sweeping corners.
And Roberto Moreno has gotten around DeFerrin again. So Roberto Moreno picks up 4th place. It's now Moreno, DeFerrin, Breck.
Patrick Racing has a history of putting together good cars here. We'll watch the pass. This is going down the back straightaway. DeFerrin in too hot. Moreno does the classic thing. He just turns a little later, a little better exit speed, drives down underneath. Him going into the next corner, out breaks him into turn 7. So if you see the guy in front's getting a little defensive, trying to block the inside, and you can see he's taking a little too much speed into the corner, you stay out wide, get your turning and braking done a little sooner so you can be on the throttle sooner, try to out-accelerate him to the next corner.
Well, with Moreno now in 4th, he begins to pull away, and Kenny Breck starts looking to the inside of DeFerrin.
If you're a trailing driver and one guy's passed, you want to be the next guy.
So it's Tagliani, Dixon, Carpentier, Moreno, then DeFerrin, and Kenny Breck. Ford, Toyota, Ford, top 3 at the Molson Indy Vancouver. Ball rivalries, there are none bigger than the Red Sox and the Yankees. Tune in to ESPN for Sunday Night Baseball presented by Nextel. Tonight at 8, as the first-place Yankees visit the slumping Boston Red Sox. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Remember, in the first exchange of pit stops, Dixon, Gidley, Wilson all did not stop. Wilson is being covered by a standing yellow where he ran off course. They're going to try to get him back into the fight. And for Gidley, they are now suggesting that he should be in very shortly.
Wow, that was an out-of-body experience.
I enjoyed it.
But look at Moreno. He just turned the race's fastest lap. He's all over the back of Carpentier. Patrick has said all weekend long after 5-6 laps his car would go to oversteer. They made some changes between warm-up and the race. He's now complaining over the radio that he has a big understeer, which means he's really got to slow down, spend a lot of time turning the corner into the corner. He can't get on the throttle that soon. Moreno's flying, and look at Moreno. Fastest and 4th quickest. Only Tag is quicker. Tag now 2 seconds out in front of Dixon. But look at Moreno. He's one of those guys on the bubble looking for a ride next year, possibly, putting in a heck of a performance so far today.
Well, you've said that could be a tremendous incentive, and there's evidence of it.
I'd say eating and keeping the lights on is a tremendous motivator for a lot of drivers.
So Tagliani followed by Dixon, who we expect in shortly. We also expected Gidley in at the conclusion of the last lap, but he's not elected to do so. Working the 40th lap of 100, and what they all hope will be just a 2-stop race. And now the Target Chip Ganassi team begins to come over the wall, and they're ready for Memo Gidley. Also some indication that Scott Dixon will be into the Pac West pits at the conclusion of this lap. So that will bring Carpentier back to second, Moreno to third, as Dixon vacates second place, and Gidley will be vacating 7th. Damana working Fernandez for 10th. Christian Fittipaldi, the blue car, right back there. Scott Dixon out of second place onto the pit road. And he turns toward Jan Beekes.
And Paul, they were hoping that they could make this stop under yellow, but unfortunately it was a gamble that has not yet paid off. Obviously under green they will make this stop as quickly as possible. This also might work if you can make it a one-stop race, but at this juncture, a 100-lap race, I don't think that's going to happen. Waiting for the field. Nice quick stop, about 11 seconds, but again, he was hoping for yellow. At the same time, Mimo Gidley getting service a little bit farther down pit road.
Yeah, but look, they're also laid out, Jan, for Bruno Junqueira.
Clear, it's clear. Watch your speed all the way out, speed all the way out.
So as Gidley rolls out with a 12-second pit stop, Bruno Junqueira's team also comes over the wall. Now remember, Junqueira, involved in the first lap situation, is running 1 lap behind the lead. So they're going to bring him here on the 41st lap, bring him in, refuel him.
Tagliani coming through traffic, lapping Brian Herta. Brian nicely moved out of the way.
Oh, Takagi and Dixon.
He stalled it just on his outlap. Fresh tires, full fuel. He might.
And look at this, Zanardi is in trouble too. Now, will this bring out the full course caution? You'd think so. Here comes Bruno into the pits.
And you talked about the fact that the crew had laid out. We know about 11 seconds is the mark to beat. And now he gets a full course caution out of this. Waiting for the fuel. Every rev that Toyota has. A little bit slower, but a nice burnout for Junqueira.
So the full course caution comes out. It will be only a slight advantage for Junqueira. And there is Takagi and Scott Dixon getting together. Here is it from Dixon's point of view. Takagi will be over on the right.
This is the flat-out fifth-gear kink, 155 miles an hour going down the back straight. Now highest speed on the course, 190 miles an hour. Dixon's setting up now for braking and downshifting. Takagi coming down the inside right about now. There he, it's somebody else that's going down.
That looked more like a Zanardi nose.
Yeah, I think Zanardi's going inside Takagi. Takagi pushes out wide into Dixon. Dixon was unable to get the clutch in time. There's Servia through the shot. Oh, there goes Zanardi off into the tires. In the following corner, down in turn 7. Okay, now we'll see what happened here. Servia down the inside. Takagi just locks him up. I think we may have crowned a new king here. I think we've got King Takagi going for us now, Paul.
Well, and you saw Zanardi. He actually came through behind all that. The nose we saw was Servia. And look at the water on the track. Now, that's a result of hitting the tires. The tires, it rains quite often up here in BC. I think everybody knows that. And the tires at the edge of the course tend to fill with water. And when they hit them, it just creates an enormous spray, a fountain that comes out across the track. So that too will have to be addressed under the full cost caution. Just wanted to see this again. It's such a great shot of Scott Dixon before that incident on his pit stop. We'll be back. The spotlight, we want to take a look at the trials and tribulations of Paul Tracy. He looks a lot happier there than I bet he does now. On Saturday, Michael Andretti just pulled right across the track in front of him, and he speared him. And then this morning during the warm-up, he caught the barrier, serious damage to the car, and some damage to fingers on his left hand. And then during the race itself, Tracy gets himself in trouble again. So how's he now? Let's go to Jan Beekes.
Paul has made his way back to pit road. Paul, what happened down there at the end of the straightaway?
Well, I think Cristiano got in the back of me and cut my tire down, cut a big slash in the sidewall of the tire, and I went down the runoff area and backed out, and then the engine stalled, and Cart just pulled me behind the wall. He said they couldn't push start it with a flat tire.
They've had a few problems this weekend. Your team owner, Barry Green, said that you've had trouble getting a balance of the car on new tires. Now, that was after a pit stop. Was that a factor?
Yeah, I mean, no, not really. I think, everybody was kind of bunched up and really getting racy on the restart, and it's just one of those things that happens. With cold tires, everybody's sliding around, and it's just kind of the way our season's gone. When we get some momentum, we struggled on Friday, and got some momentum Saturday and qualified well, and then we get our legs knocked out from under us on Sunday. So it's been a frustrating year.
And I know you want it better in Canada. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Well, it's been a fairly lengthy caution period, and part of the reason is right there. Look at the water as we look down from the Honda Helicam. They've been trying to blow it off the track, but in doing so, they've managed mostly to blow it up against the wall, and then it surged back. So they've put a lot of oil dry down, trying to keep the water off of the racetrack. Many of those back in the lineup, that group actually you're looking at there, all came into the pits as they indicated one more lap to go. So we expect a green flag to come out for Alex Tagliani as the leader of the race, followed by Carpentier.
We will start in fuel position 1.
Tagliani, Carpentier, Moreno, DeFerrin, Breck, Pappas, and Michael Andretti.
Tag's been able to pull out 6-second leads on every restart. Here he goes again.
He slows it down, then all of a sudden he jumps on it. Begins now to pull away.
3.
Now that's Tora Takagi that's actually second in the lineup. There's been some concern within the players' team about his positioning and whether or not Patrick Carpentier will be able to get around him.
Well, I'd be concerned too. For Tag, it's exactly what you want. Someone in between you and the second place person, even if it is your teammate. Roberto Moreno behind Carpentier, very, very fast. Carpentier's got to figure out a way to get around Takagi and put some space between himself and the rest of the field. Well, he can, but look at Takagi. He's holding that position steadily coming down that back straightaway.
DeFerrin is back to working on Roberto Moreno. Ongoing battle for third place here. Kenny Breck comes out wide, looks at DeFerrin. DeFerrin tries the inside of Moreno. It doesn't work for him. Leaders come off the corner. DeFerrin and Kenny Breck touch. They go side by side.
Kenny Breck's made wheel-to-wheel contact with Cash Neves. Now his teammate DeFerrin.
Again, the coverage coming to us through the courtesy of Molstar here today. The host broadcasters here in Vancouver, as they are in Toronto.
DeFerrin not taking advantage of in that contact, was able to maintain his position over Kenny Breck. But this is the time to note, the guys know they have to push very hard. If they don't get a pass done here, they'll have to wait until a number of laps through the fuel run. The tires wear a little bit to see if the balance of the car in front of them starts to go off so they can take advantage, or they wait until that final round of pit stops.
Treading pretty lightly on that margin between what may be a timed race. The time race distance 2 hours 10 minutes. Here it is again with DeFerrin and Kenny Breck. Yeah, there's some contact there. New paint on the side of DeFerrin's car.
Kenny a little slow coming off the corner. DeFerrin getting a better exit, trying to take advantage of the situation to slip inside him, and he does.
We're at the 53rd lap of the 100-lap race. Alex Zanardi out of the race now with Jan Beekes.
And we'll find out what happened. It was at the end of the back straightaway. What happened, Alex?
No, it was actually turn 6. I just went to downshift from 4th to 2nd. Got 3rd. I couldn't get into 2nd, and basically when he finally went, I locked the rear wheels, correct the steering to regain control of the car, and ran out of room.
I want to talk about your future. Have you decided what you want to do as far as driving in kart?
Really, quite frankly, I mean, I haven't been thinking about it. I mean, my focus is in trying to finish this season the best way I can. I'm not yet inclined to put everything behind me. And even if I would decide not to race next year, I wouldn't announce a retirement, because my ego is big, but not as big as to want to have attention from the press. I mean, I've always been a racer. That's something that I still believe I'm capable of doing. And I would like to enjoy it more than what I'm doing at the moment, because, you know, it's nobody's fault, but right now the situation is such that it's not very enjoyable. I know it takes a leader and it takes a guy in the last place, but certainly at my age, related to my experience in my career, I'm not enjoying the way the things are going right now.
Thank you, Alex.
And for Alex Zanardi, it's his 7th DNF of the year. That's the most of all drivers for DNFs. Now, Tora Takagi, as you have seen, is trying to get around the leader, Alex Tagliani. Now remember, Tora Takagi is 1, running in 19th place, and 2 is still on probation. This is his last race on probation. Nevertheless, he's up trying to get the lap back from Alex Tagliani. If he can get around him, another full course caution, that works pretty well for him, so it's an important thing to do.
And the problem you face as Alex Tagliani is, do you let the guy by, because right now they've pulled out 3 seconds ahead of Carpentier, who's currently in second, or do you take the chance of getting speared from behind by Takagi if he gets a little too aggressive? And I'd say, hey, just stay out in front, try to get any kind of margin you can over Takagi. Hopefully in a few laps his tires will start to go off and you won't have to worry about him any longer.
Watching Kenny Brack, who's been battling with DeFerrin. In fact, he's been battling with a lot of folks today, Gary Gerald.
Yes, indeed. And after that little incident there, surprisingly, Breck was doing a great job to keep it out of the tires. Breck told the team that his car is pushing a lot, but from this side of the wall, the simple answer back was just keep pushing. And it appears that he's doing just that as he's now closed back to within 3 or 4 car lengths of Gilles DeFerrin.
And there he is, Kenny Brack, working on DeFerrin. DeFerrin looks over, checks the mirrors, sees Brack. Brack comes to the inside. This is a pretty good move, but DeFerrin is able to sweep across. Brack will lose a little bit of momentum coming off of the corner.
And when you pull out that wide, the driver in front can't see you at all. You'll disappear completely from the mirrors, and that leaves the driver in front wondering exactly where he is. You're not quite as aggressive usually to turn in because you don't want to make contact. So Kenny Brack trying to use everything that he's got in his bag of tricks, trying to shake DeFerrin, but that's one guy that's very hard to rattle.
And the gang's now catching. Patrick Carpentier, Moreno, DeFerrin, Brack are closing in on the rear wing of second place Patrick Carpentier. His teammate Alex Tagliani is still the leader. He has led every lap of this race thus far. A lot of festivities and ceremonies here in Vancouver leading up to the race. It is a major event here in Vancouver. We'll be back. Coming up next on ESPN2, Day 3 of the NHRA's Mac Tools. Well, back here at the Molson Indy Vancouver, Alex Tagliani is still the leader. Nothing has changed since we last left you. There are 17 cars still on the leader lap. Tagliani has led all of the way. Franchitti with a fairly substantive move forward, 8 positions, but since he started back in 18th, he still has a way to go if he wants to challenge for the lead. Still, at least he is finally into the points. And as you can see there, the DeFerrin Breck battle has broken off. Breck moving on DeFerrin whenever and wherever he can. Now he closes back in. There's Max Pappas with Michael Andretti working on him. Pappas, one of those who is not signed for next year and is hoping either to renew his ride at Rahal or find something else within the series.
About 5 or so laps until the last pit stop will occur. For these drivers in line, you have to make a decision. Do you push really hard now at the end of the fuel stint and try to make a pass, try to force a pass, or do you just get up as close as you can and rely on your team, the guys in the pits, to get the pass done for you during that final pit stop?
Michael Andretti currently is 7th. Look how well he does in Canada. And here, for that matter.
I think Gary Gerald crowned him the King of Canada because of his results in Toronto and here. Until the start of this race, he had, as we said earlier, had never qualified outside of the top 10. His driving style just likes these courses. And keep in mind, this course has changed a number of times now over the years, but no matter what the configuration, Michael has always done well.
You saw the interval. That was Takagi still in pursuit of Tagliani, though the interval has widened substantially, about 4.5 seconds. Takagi still trying to get his lap back, and Carpentier with Moreno chasing him, and DeFerrin chasing Moreno, now 5.9 seconds back from the leader. Alex Tagliani.
And Tag did exactly what he needed to do. He just kept pulling out a very small advantage every lap. Now 6 seconds over Carpentier. Nothing more disheartening than leading a race, having a yellow flag come out, watching that lead evaporate, but Tag's done it once again. It's the 3rd time now that he's pulled out this lead. Looking for that first kart win, his first podium coming in the streets of Toronto, our last street race.
Still trying to get his lap back is Bruno Junqueira. He currently runs in 20th after his first lap altercation. Put him a lap behind the race. We'll just ride with him now. Bruno Junqueira, winner at Road America. There's Patrick Carpentier still with Roberto Moreno working on him. Sure, there are some very anxious folks in the players' pits now, Gary, as they see a 1-2 finish as possible.
All on that first round of stops under yellow, everybody pitted at the same time. We just checked with Neil Mickelwright to see if he would split the pit stops here to give the crews a little more room to work and the drivers the luxury of a wide open space. He said, yes, we'll probably stagger it, meaning that Tagliani would be in first, then Carpentier more likely on the 2nd lap. As for changes for Tagliani, they may dial in about a half turn of front wing, trying to improve the handling characteristics of the car for the run to the finish and possibly his first Champ Car victory.
Maybe a half turn. That car is working good.
Absolutely. And this is a perfect example of this players team where they knew they had the right personnel. They added Bruce Ashmore, who used to direct the development of Bernard Carr's North America for the Champ Car program this year. Tony Sekeli came over from Paul Tracy for Alex Tagliani, so they knew they had all the right people. Tag had 6 DNFs at the beginning of the year. Pat had 5 just because of bad luck and things going wrong at the wrong time. They stayed tough, hung in there. The whole key to this game is survival of being around so that the luck can turn around. And now this team has gained a lot of momentum, and look at them go.
You saw Cristiano D'Amato's crew start to lay out. Stop should start here shortly. Gary Gerald, you're keeping an eye on Tagliani.
Yeah, and with 2 laps till the scheduled pit stop, we had a radio communication saying that Tag may have had a bad noise in the engine, but Neil Mickelwright answering back said everything is good here, just keep going. Tag apparently questioned again, and they're telling him from this side that the telemetry does not indicate there's any kind of a problem, but maybe a little unsettled business in the mind of the man who's leading this race and has been leading it from the opening green.
Yeah, but one of the things that is less monitored on the telemetry is the gearbox, and they're vulnerable here. They're getting beat up a lot, so what could be a drivetrain problem might show up in the gearbox and therefore not show up on the telemetry. So it's Tagliani, Carpentier, Roberto Moreno, Ford, Toyota. The top 3. We'll be right back. So back at the Molson Indy Vancouver, expecting stops to begin just any second now. It's Tagliani, Carpentier, and Roberto Moreno, the top 3. Moreno is still driving a desperate race as he's all over the back end of Patrick Carpentier.
Quickest laps of the race now occurring. Castroneves having the top 8 of the top 10 quickest laps, followed by Tagliani in 9th, and then the quickest lap, Roberto Moreno, as we see some of the cars now coming in with Pappas and Andretti.
1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009. Oh, go, 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 go!
That's another way to time it. It doesn't involve physical violence of hitting somebody with a stick. Oh, what's going on here with Tag?
Well, he said he heard something. The telemetry may say one thing, but the driver is the ultimate authority. And now,
leading so many laps, and Tagliani's in trouble. Suddenly a plume at the back of the car, and he pulls off.
Tag's hopes of his first Champ Car victory up in smoke as his teammate comes in.
Gary Gerald.
Boy, heartbreaking on one side of the players' pit box. They're throwing air guns, wheels back over the wall. They were laid out. Meanwhile, here comes Patrick Carpentier, who won the Michigan 500, glides in perfectly on the spot. He has inherited the lead in a sense, but he's making an early stop. Kenny Breck comes by now. Wing change up front for Carpentier. Fueling not yet complete. Now it's completed. 11.5 seconds. He's rolling. He beats Breck out comfortably, and we'll wait and see how it cycles out with the rest of the pit stops. Kenny Breck now rolls.
So for the Players Forsyth team, it's all up to Carpentier. Roberto Moreno took over the lead as Patrick Carpentier came into the pits. It was no problem to get Tagliani off the course. He was able to drive off the course by himself. That also puts Tora Takagi back on the lead lap because the leader disappeared in front of him. And here is the new leader of the race, Roberto Moreno, as he set for the Patrick pits.
No, out. In now.
Remember last time that Roberto was here, they had a slight miscue. Now as the leader, they know if he does not make a miscue, then he could retain the lead. But he's got about a 12-second stop he's got to beat.
Full course caution comes out. Max Pappas is hard into the barrier, sitting in the middle of the track.
Okay, 10-4.
Agonizing words from Max Pappas. Full course caution. The good news is he is conscious and talking. And the damage on the car is such that we would think there's no injury there. Bobby Rahal watches the monitors as well to see how his driver is. And the rest of the field very, very slow through that area. Now there's some good news. Max is going to climb out under his own power.
The emotion for these drivers, literally driving for their careers. He knows exactly what's at stake here.
A little dangerous run there. Now he is safe. Simple Green safety team is there. They'll try to get the debris off the course.
Speaking of emotion.
And anguish.
A driver that drove a perfect race. He had his chance last year at Rio while he was leading. At least he's signed for next year, and now Max Pappas, knowing that certainly didn't help his opportunities. At least Tagliani knows he'll be back, but for these both of these drivers, very much epitomizing the agony of defeat at this point.
There is a lot of damage on the right side of that race car. He caught the wall a ton. Unfortunately, we haven't yet been able to find a replay for you. Keep asking our friends over at Molstar, see if they can come up with something for us. Cristiano D'Amata picks up the lead of the race under the full course caution, followed by Franchitti, Vassar, and Jourdain. But of course, this falls right in the middle of scheduled pit stops. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Vancouver as the pit stops start under full course caution. Cristiano D'Amata occupies the first pit. He is also the leader of the race as he came into the pit. Dario Franchitti just ahead. Franchitti came in third. D'Amata gets out ahead of him. As they come out, Jimmy Vassar's crew drops the car down. He'll come out slightly ahead of Franchitti. So there goes D'Amata back into the fight. Leaving now only Michel Jourdain Jr., whose birthday it is. Happy birthday, Michel. And Oriol Servia, the only two who have only one pit stop and need the second stop. Patrick Carpentier radioed his crew, quite properly so, evaluating the situation. We ended up stopping at exactly the wrong time. He was in the pits as the full course caution came out for Max Pappas. They're still trying to clean that debris off of the racetrack. We'll be right back. He's going to have to stay there to the end of the race because there's no way back to the pits and, of course, no way to interview him. I'm not so sure he would like that. RPM tonight, your daily source for motorsports, is moving to 6 p.m. Eastern each weeknight beginning on Tuesday. So remember, on Tuesday, tune in at 6 Eastern right here to ESPN2. Well, an interesting situation, because as they were coming around, look there, pits are closed sign is out. And despite the fact that that is out, there comes D'Amata, Franchitti, and Jimmy Vasser all making a stop. And so in doing so, violating the rule, that means that they are now going to move to the back of the field. And I don't imagine, in fact, we know Dario Franchitti is not happy with that. John?
Nor is Barry Green. And Barry, what is the situation as far as the pit being closed or not?
Well, we're furious. You know, they did the right thing by closing the pit. I agree with that. But, you know, D'Amata's in the lead. We're in second. We've driven a heck of a race all day. Dario's done a great job, gotten from where he's at up into that position. Could have finished fourth, fifth, or sixth. Everyone in the stands knows who's the damn leader, and our officials don't. Just an absolute mess.
Well, as we go back to Green, Barry Green wants to have some words, I think, with some card officials.
Oh, and it's a battle going into turn one. Mauricio Guzman is the leader. Kenny Breck gets in trouble, goes way wide on the corner, misses the wall, comes back in. Fernandez gets in trouble. We mentioned that these tires on opening laps are a problem. Where Fernandez is, well, maybe they'll just let him stay there. And there goes DeFerrin to the front. Gil DeFerrin comes from third place on the restart, around Moreno and around Mauricio Guzman. And now DeFerrin has the lead. Kenny Brett goes side by side with Tony Kanaan. They come past the support pit straight away.
Moreno by Guzman.
And Cristiano D'Amata in trouble. Two cars now in trouble on the circuit. The officials certainly thinking about full course caution, and they decide that's what they will do. The pits are now open, though it probably doesn't matter at all now.
Sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy here. The drivers know this may have been their last best chance to pass. Now with this full course yellow, they'll get another restart and another chance for a little bit of track anarchy, because they know that once they start to string out 3, 4, 5 laps, tires start to come up to temp, it'll become more and more difficult to pass. But the time is winding down, Paul.
22 minutes, 42 seconds left on the 2-hour, 10-minute count. But let's go back to what Barry Green was saying as we watch Scott Dixon come into the pits. Barry Green very upset. Dario Franchitti, the reports are, has been upset on the radio. And look at this. We're going to show you the situation. There's the board out. Pace car comes around the final turn leading to the pit straightaway. Now, it appears clearly closed to me. You might be able to argue that so tight behind the pace car, maybe you couldn't see it.
Well, of course, the question is, and I can't remember now, do they have two different signs, or is it green on one side and closed on the other? That's the question.
And then just seconds ago, the restart.
Fernandez sliding off the outside, going into the first corner.
DeFerrin made his move, got around Moreno, got around Guzman. And so now, under the full course caution, it's DeFerrin in front. Look at him make a move. Look at Kenny Breck as well.
Kenny, very, very fortunate to have kept that car off the tires on the exit of turn one there.
And very fortunate that Michael Andretti was paying very close attention, because Michael could have gotten him big time as he came back into the stream of traffic. The baseball rivalries, there are none bigger than the Red Sox and the Yankees. Tune into ESPN for Sunday Night Baseball. Presented by Nextel tonight at 8 Eastern as the first place Yankees visit the slumping Boston Red Sox. And for more, log on to ESPN.com. Well, we're doing some interesting checking here for you. There's Roger Penske. He, of course, is the owner of the current leader, Gil DeFerrin. Roberto Moreno is second. Mauricio Guzman is in third. With the pass into the lead, DeFerrin has taken over the points lead in that ongoing and very close battle. But Parker, we're still wondering about what happened as 3 cars came into the pits, the 3 leaders of the race as they came in.
Well, as a driver, I'm just aware that there's a red board or a green board. I'm not sure of the mechanics as to whether there's 2 different boards, one red, one green, or that's a 2-sided sign, green on one side, red on the other. So we're going to find that out for you and let you know whether we're looking at the back side of the green board or simply a 2-sided red board.
Well, and that is important because the visual we have actually comes from the backside looking up the track as the cars came into the pits. Well, 82 laps are complete. There is DeFerrin. Compare him 2000 to 2001. This year, he has not performed in his championship form of last year, though he has been somewhat consistent. He's still looking for a strong lead.
He said he hasn't been getting a lot of attention this year, but that's actually good. He's quietly just been working at trying to consistently finish. And as I said, this morning when he got out of the car after qualifying,
oh, he was smiling.
He had that little smile, that look in his eyes that said, the car's perfect, we haven't changed anything, and now look where he is. That's the kind of confidence a team wants to give their driver after morning warm-up, so he thinks about nothing except driving to the front in the race.
Especially again at this point in the season where it would be very good to score a victory and give you some impetus in the final run to the last race of the season at California Speedway. So DeFerrin still circles along with the rest of the field behind the pace car. 17 cars are on the lead lap. 17th is right now Shinji Nakano. It's DeFerrin, Moreno, Guzman, Carpentier, the top 4. Then Breck, Michael Andretti, Tony Kanaan, Oriol Servia, Michel Jourdain Jr., and Tora Takagi. One of the guys involved in that situation coming into the pits was Cristiano D'Amata, and right now he's with Jan Beekes.
And some intense emotions down here in Newman Haas. First of all, the discussion was they shouldn't have closed the pits, but in your estimation, were the pits closed? Could you see a pit close sign?
Yeah, I think I could see a pit closed sign, but this is a road course. The pit shouldn't be closed. The point is a lot of the guys, me and Dario, I think Vassar too, everybody that stretched their stops to get more laps advantage over the other guys. We were tight on fuel. We couldn't, even in the yellow, we couldn't go for many more laps, and they closed the pit, so they just basically ruined the race of everybody. Was doing fine, was doing the right thing, and benefit everybody else who had worse mileage, was going slower than us.
So you're saying it's a case where you had no choice, you had to come on because no fuel left?
We were the tank was basically empty. We risked to go another lap. We could make this other lap, but another one we're going to stop in the middle of the racetrack. The point is, although we understand closing the pits, a road course is not the first time that it happens, and I just think it's a huge mistake. It's a joke.
Thank you, Cristiano.
Now there's Cristiano D'Amata being very straightforward.
Well, and the problem as a driver, I've come up behind the pace car saying, hey, you got to wave me by, and they haven't. I realize my race is evaporating while they're trying to make a decision, but you have to abide by what you're seeing. Look at the smile on Mr. Patrick's face. But if I came up and saw a closed pit board for the pits, you have to realize you can't ignore that. You will be penalized.
Pat Patrick knows that his driver, Roberto Moreno, is in second place behind Gilles DeFerrin. And so far today has been pretty racy, twice able to get around DeFerrin. We'll be back. Parker Johnstone, Jan Beekes, and Gary Gerould in what has been a less than smooth run and now has some very angry drivers. We're still under the full course caution. Cristiano D'Amata just moments ago suggesting that they closed the pits. He understood that, but they shouldn't have.
I opened the show saying strange things happen here, and they always do. We could see DeFerrin take off back there. He's let the pace car pull out a nice, healthy gap, and now he's slowed down again. Very interesting.
Well, the pace car comes off in turn 4, and then
there
it turns over
again
to DeFerrin. He slows it down, then surges forward, trying to get away from Roberto Moreno, but Roberto Moreno is right on top of that move. Green flag is out. Moreno's locked onto the back end of DeFerrin. Kenny Breck tries that inside news, and he hits Carpentier.
He just drilled Patrick going down into the first corner. Patrick had to take the escape route. If he would have turned, he would have been right into the tires. Kenny Breck now being involved in a number of contacts. Right rear tire is flat.
Wow, and that was Vassar running off the course, right behind Christian Fittipaldi.
Carpentier's day's done.
Pat Patrick wondering what's going on there, but knows that at least Moreno is still in second, though his second car, Jimmy Vasser, in trouble. Look at this little battle. Whoa, and parts fly there as well. Well, this is turning into a desperation street fight. And pulling wide was Mauricio Kugelman.
Well, he's been shoved offline so many times, I can't tell if he's got a mechanical problem or he's just got so much pickup on the tires.
Maybe just thought that's where he ought to be.
Let's get the heck out of the way before you get run over.
Now, Tony Kanaan here is working on Michael Andretti.
Let's focus.
Battle for 6th place.
Man, Tony went from 7th to 4th. Michael up a number of positions.
Oh, look at that. Trash all over the place. That's from the contact that Jimmy Vasser had. We're going to try and show you what happened back there. There goes to Farron and Moreno.
Watch right here. Kenny Breck right into the back of Carpentier. Flattens his right rear tire. He gets wide. People sliding through on the inside. He gets back in line. So that's the first contact going into the first corner. Later on, we saw Vasser off there as well. Here's another shot of it. Carpentier, if he would have turned, would have been right into the tires.
You saw Christian Fittipaldi with a very close move going into the corner as well.
DeFerrin, a little check of the mirror. Man, he just drills him under braking. That was a big hit.
And that was Canada's last hope when Carpentier ends up off course after being punted there. And look at this, Christian, and there is Vasser. All right, that explains what happened to Jimmy Vasser and why parts from his car are laying out in the middle of the circuit. Well, maybe hope is not totally gone. Carpentier has made it back to the pits, though it was a long, slow trip, Gary.
Yeah, we're trying to look through a tremendous crowd here as they get him serviced and back out. Carpentier will continue, but boy, what great disappointment. They made only one tire, the damaged tire change, and got him going.
So we saw Jimmy Vasser, obviously a helpless victim there, as we could see Fittipaldi sideways in front of him. Jimmy had no place to go, quickly got pulled off with a heavily damaged front suspension there off the racing line. But we talk about racing luck so often. Here, team players dominates, qualifies on the front row, tag just takes off, Carpentier's right there. The right crew, the right team at the right time, and yet nothing goes their way. Everything completely beyond their immediate control.
Oh, I can't imagine what it's like down in the players' pits, Gary.
Well, we've got Neil Mipka right here. Neil, what is the emotion after you've had such a great weekend up until the actual race, and you see what's going on? It's become a street fight, it appears.
Yeah, I'm pissed off. It's racing. It's unfortunate. Obviously, we were in fairly good shape early on. And, you can only do what you can do. I think these last 15 laps got pretty ragged here and are still pretty ragged out there right now. So, to have one car drop out with a mechanical failure, but then have Patrick knocked out over, I think, probably a little bit silly with what was going on. But it's racing, so we'll just come back and we'll get him next time.
Appreciate your thoughts. Thanks.
Thank you.
Great attitude, great competitor. Neil Mipka, been in the series a long, long time. They have just officially announced that they are enforcing this as a timed race. The time limit for the race was set at 2 hours and 10 minutes. There's now 9 minutes and 40 seconds to go.
As a result of the Destruction Derby, as I look through the points-paying positions 1 through 12, Gidley now up into 10th place. Great drive from him after struggling all weekend. Franchitti in 9th. Takagi back on the lead lap up to 7th. And look at the points now and what happens to the championship. It changes once again. It's changed every single race weekend this year.
That's given to Farron the lead back by 9 over Breck and Castroneves. De Farron, Moreno, Andretti, Kanaan, and Servia. And look at this, Moreno! Moreno works on De Farron and takes him. So Roberto Moreno, now we know why Pat Patrick was smiling. This is the reason. That's the third time today that Moreno has been able to pass Gil De Farron on the racetrack.
He just got a great run coming off of turn 4. You can see the reaction there. Slipped inside him. down inside turn 5 and then just snookered him all the way down the straightaway. When your job's on the line, you can do some pretty heroic things.
The new contract is just a wonderful incentive. Roberto Moreno now leads over DeFerrin, Michael Andretti, Toyota, and then 3 Hondas. Vancouver, there's the leader. There's second place now. Roberto Moreno just totally smoked Gil DeFerrin to take the lead in these closing minutes now of the Molson Indy Vancouver, with just a very few minutes left to run.
Moreno struggling as a substitute driver for years, finally got the ride with Pat Patrick, had his breakthrough win at Cleveland last year, and now looking for win number 2 on the streets of Vancouver. DeFerrin understands, though, having been at this a very long time, he's not going to risk anything trying to hunt down Moreno. Probably realizes he can't. So all he's going to do is make sure right now he's got a 5-second gap back to Michael Andretti. He's going to try to maintain that gap, drive in a very consistent fashion, try to collect as many points as he can. And there's Michael Andretti, 3rd place. And Michael's been on a tear all day long. Michael, he's very, very good in the streets of Canada.
Yeah, at least we are too quick to forget Michael Andretti drives particularly well on street courses, drives exceptionally well in Canada, and has incredible good luck up in Canada.
And that last lap, he took a second off the interval to Gil DeFerrin, knocked it down now to 4 seconds. And if he keeps up this pace, DeFerrin's going to have to do something fairly quick here, as Tony Kanaan now trying to maintain contact with Michael Andretti. Oriol Servia not that far behind, only another 2 seconds back. Another young driver looking for a ride next year. Very, very talented. And then it's Jourdain on his 25th birthday, Takagi Breck, Franchitti and Gidley rounding out the top 10.
Pat Patrick watching, hoping Jan Bikas is there with him.
Mr. Patrick, it's okay. When DeFerrin got by you, did you think you might be in trouble for the win?
I thought so, but we knew that Roberto passed him twice before. So it's such it's war out there. It's demolition derby almost.
It is. Now, I have to ask you a difficult question. Is Roberto driving for his job? Do you know if he'll be with you next season?
That decision has been made yet.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
All right, you say it.
Good. Nice work there, Jan. That's a brave Jan Bikas asking that question, and got a nice smile from Pat. Pat is, if anything, he's a negotiator. And this is the time of the year I think he loves most, just because he's able to work deals with drivers, and he's got a lot of balls in the air right now.
I'm glad the way you finished that the way you did there, Paul. You had me worried there for a minute, but it's not only drivers, it's also engine manufacturers and chassis as well. We've seen guys from Renard, Lola at opposing teams that are being currently run this year going back and forth. So a lot of deals being made in the paddock. 5
minutes, 10 seconds to go. Race is actually going to run about 3 laps shorter than the scheduled distance. It's going to be a very close call on this timing as they pass under 5 minutes to the checkered flag. DeFerrin now just 3 seconds back. And Moreno going to have some traffic to work.
Coming up behind Mauricio Guzman, but remember, Mauricio he's one of those drivers that's been trying to extend the fuel range. He's got it leaned way back. So a significant number of horsepower down from your leader, Roberto Moreno, probably running as much as 200 horsepower down with the sort of fuel mileage he's got to get in order to make it to the checkered flag without stopping again.
Guzman currently 15th. You ride now with Bruno Junqueira. That's Christian Fittipaldi. And Gidley just ahead. Moreno was able to get around Mauricio Guzman without any incident. So he has clear sailing once again. Clock continues to count. The Molson Indy Vancouver. The good news for many of the fans here is that it has been reported that they have extended the contract for this great event for another 3 years.
We saw over 90,000 fans here on Friday and Saturday for open testing and qualifying. The place is absolutely packed again today.
Oriol Servia currently 5th. He's had a good day. You know, the thing about these Molson events, they really do a nice job of turning it into an all-city festival. There was so much going on. Our hotel is, what, located 7 or 8 blocks from the track, and there was a concert here at the track last night that thankfully ended about 11:30 because it was as if they were in your room.
They practically were. I got my homework done and said, okay, guys, you turn the music off now.
And you were on the other side of the hotel. So Roberto Moreno, then DeFerrin, then Michael Andretti. Roberto's teammate, Jimmy Vasser,
2.5 seconds, plus 2.5.
got in a major confrontation that took him out of the race. Jan?
He did. What happened with you and Christian?
I don't know. They got him and Memo got together. He was spinning, and I just figured I'm going to go down low and gas and try to get around him because we got thrown back from that closed pits thing. I don't know on the earth know why they closed the pits. I'm sure there's a good reason, but I'm not smart enough to know it. But so I was just going to get by him or crash, and just like crashed. You know, we try to get some points out of it. I need to get in front of those guys and move up. But he spun in front of me, came back down, and we clipped.
Why do you think all of a sudden the thing turned into a street fight with so much contact?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but I know one thing. Roberto Moreno's driving a hell of a race today, and I'm ready here, down here. Hopefully everything goes well, and we can win this thing today.
All right, get up there and root for your team. Gary?
Well, Jan, you tried to talk to Max earlier, and we had a system failure. Max has now been released from medical. First of all, Max Pappas, are you okay? You feeling all right?
Yeah, I banged my knees really hard. You know, we had a huge mechanical failure. I don't know where it was, in the middle of the kink in 5th gear, flat out. Rear wheels locked up, and I went straight in the wall. It was an extremely hard impact.
How tough is it to handle this? Because it seems like you've had so much misfortune other than that great day in the rain at Portland.
I'm a strong person. I believe in myself, and I believe that Mad Max is here, and never count me out because I'm a fighter.
All right, thank you, Max.
Thanks.
Well, Jimmy Vasser, of course, like so many drivers, while they're actually out there, don't know totally what is going on. The official reason for the pit closure was trying to move equipment given that accident that involved Max Pappas. So Roberto Moreno now looking for the 2nd win of his career. Remember the run at Cleveland and the celebration thereafter? Roberto Moreno, 10th different winner this year if he makes it to the checkered flag.
3.3 seconds now ahead of DeFerrin, who's now 3 seconds ahead of Michael Andretti. So that gap remaining fairly constant over the last few laps. Tony Kanaan up to 4th, Servia up into 5th. Great drives by these two drivers.
In fact, the only contest that may come to the checkered flag will be between Servia and Michel Jourdain Jr. and Toru Takagi. It's about a 3-way rounded off fight for 5th place. Little Roberto Moreno, one of the best attitudes in the series. Checkered flag is out for him. Win number 2 for Roberto.
Good job. You did it, buddy. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Black. Thank you. This is for your Black. Thank you, everybody.
That is the 27th win for Patrick Racing.
I think I've heard more crying on the radio today than I've heard ever.
Well, Bob, as we call him, is happy. Moreno, DeFerrin, Andretti, Kanaan, Servia, Jourdain Jr., and Takagi. No changes in the final lap in the unofficial results. We'll be back. Roberto Moreno knows how to celebrate. There's been a lot of celebrating going on here. Donuts up at the head of the pit straightaway. Oh, baby. And then after out of the car, to the cheers of the crowd. They loved every moment of this. And finally, Roberto Moreno joins Gary Gerald.
The emotion on his face tears. He has just broken down with a Brazilian flag on his shoulders, a beautiful trophy on his shoulder, career win number 2. Roberto, take me back to when you made the pass as Gilles de Ferran. How tough was it to accomplish that? And did you set him up? Were you waiting for the right moment?
Vestido, thank you very much. Darling, fantastic. It was a difficult race today, but the division team gave me a great car. And we were there. The passes were difficult, but I was able to make it. Just when you have a good car, things become much easier. I just have to thank you, all my engineers, my crew, division people that put a lot of effort behind us. And Darling, I'm sorry I'm not here.
Roberto, have you been motivated feeling that you're driving for a career, driving for a job for next season?
This is nonsense. Don't say that. A professional driver don't think like that. It's just that our team is getting better and better, and we're just improving each race we go along. It takes time to get things together, and we had a slow start, but now we're quite strong. That's all it is, and I just have to thank everybody that supported me.
Wonderful job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Roberto Moreno becomes the 7th different winner in 7 years at Vancouver. There's the unofficial results. He and his wife came in the trailer at Road America. We're just sitting there in the evening, and he was saying exactly the same thing. Paul, all I can do is do the best job I can, and everything else will follow. Sportsmanship. Sought out Patrick Carpentier to apologize to him for the incident down there in turn 1 that took Carpentier out. Jan Bigas?
And with his teammate Tagliani and Alex, I know it's got to be so frustrating just dominating the race and then a mechanical failure. Any indication it was coming?
No, actually it just started doing some noise, and I didn't know what it was exactly, so I tried going into the corner with different gears, and suddenly it went. So you know, I'm sad because I really wanted to win my first race, especially in Canada, but maybe it's not my time yet. But the players' team is really strong, and I'm proud of them.
You spend a lot of time out there in what we call no man's land, having time to think about it. How do you get through those emotions and get yourself motivated for the future?
Boy, it happened so many times last year. I just got prepared and stronger. I don't know. You know, it's last year I don't think we had the consistency we had this year, and this year I'm really proud that our team is really strong. We have a very fast car, and it's easy to keep the confidence for the next race because I know our car is really fast, and it's just a question of time and a little bit of luck.
Well, I hope that comes soon. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you very much.
Alex Tagliani was powerful while he was out there. Roberto Moreno took the win. Second place, Gilles de Ferran, who now takes over the championship fight by 5 over Bracklin Castroneves. Michael Andretti is 12 back. So it continues to be one very tight fight. In 2 weeks, the series heads to Europe for back-to-back races. First up is the German 500 on Saturday, September 15th. And then the next week, the series moves over to jolly old England for the Rockingham 500. Both tracks are ovals, and both races can be seen live on ESPN at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time on the 15th and the 22nd of September. Our final Toyota Spotlight looks back at Pat Patrick thought was a demolition derby today, but ended up with Roberto Moreno as the winner of the race, the second of his career, and a lot of very expensive equipment. Coming up next, the NHRA, the U.S. Nationals. I'm Paul Page. For Parker Johnstone, Jan Bigas, and Gary Gerald, thanks for joining us here in Vancouver. We'll see you in 2 weeks. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.